What this country needs is a great $9,000 motorcycle made in America by Americans, a bike that will be great, trust me on this, a bike that'll be huge. Not a loser. Look at the size of my hands. Lucky for us, suddenly there are two choices that fit the bill. Harley's Iron 883 has been a huge winner from Milwaukee for years, a hit with the men and the ladies, much like myself. Not that it's a chick bike or that there would be anything wrong with that if it was. We love the ladies. Enough that we've married a few of them. Speaking of wearing the pants, it's beginning to be a little difficult to understand who's in the driver's seat at Indian. Is it just me, or does the new Victory Octane look like the same bike as the Indian Scout? Pretend not to notice the hair. One thing Polaris did right was to sleeve down the Scout 60 and slash $2,300 off the price. We're all about the deals, the good deals, not the lousy one America's been getting from the rest of the world. American power. For the deep haircut, you don't get fifth gear with the 60, but the remaining 5 speeds are plenty, a leather seat, or quite as much polished bling. I didn't miss any of it much the first time I rode the bike. Nor do you get as much power as the 69 cubic inch Scout. But the 61-incher is closer than you might think, as we learned at the dyno last week. And we hate to be cruel, but it's a cruel world, and there's no place for weaklings who haven't been to military school. On the dyno chart, the Iron 883 is a loser. The funny thing about the old Iron, though, is that it seldom feels that much less powerful than the Scout in everyday use, even though the dyno says the Scout is putting the hurt on it from the get-go. You get distracted by the floor show the old Cam block twin puts on, thrashing in its rubber mounts and expressing itself in a variety of ways that makes it feel fast and makes the Scout seem kind of subdued in comparison. It's Trump versus Cossack. At the same time, the rest of the Sportster has evolved into a surprisingly civilized conveyance. Some of us remember riding the old 4-speed Sportster back when it was solid mounted in the frame and America was great. It got the 5-speed gearbox in 1991, and a new rubber mount frame in 2004. The Elvis Presley quiveringness of the Iron just encourages you to twist the throttle harder, really, or else it just uses a quicker opening throttle. Both bikes are making good torque at just 2,000 RPM. Meanwhile, the Scout 60 runs really smooth up until around 6,000 RPM, when a little vibration begins creeping into its grips. But as you can see from its dyno trace, there's really no payoff in winding it out much beyond 6,000 in its as-delivered form. From the looks of its dyno chart, though, a little EQ-tuning might unleash quite a bit more excitement from 6,000 to its 8,100 RPM redline. The Scout has 4 cams just like the Sportster, but its cams are the overhead variety, activating 4 valves per cylinder. The Sportster, with its push rods and 2 valves per, has left the building at 6,000 RPM, though I don't remember ever bumping into its redline. We've grown soft. And that's not a bad thing. For 2016, the Iron gets HD's emulsion shocks out back, a new cartridge fork up front, and new foam in its new tuck and roll solo seat. I thought this thing felt nicer than any Sportster I'd ever ridden, and that's because it is. They're all sport bikes to us. We generally always find a nice curvy road or two whenever we go out for a ride, and we haven't found a motorcycle yet that's not up for a good romp, some more than others. The Iron has less ground clearance than perhaps any other motorcycle except the 883 Low, but that doesn't mean it's not still fun to ride. Hang off like Lorenzo, but be careful after the foot peg feelers are down to half their original length. Other than that, they don't call it Sportster for nothing. Those bias ply Michelin's feedback pretty good road feel, the chassis feels like tuned flex, though I'm sure not intentionally, the new suspension is way better, and the ergonomics encourage flogging. The Starbuff Grand Prix. These smaller, gentler cruisers are all about zipping around town on a budget, really, wowing the locals and impressing the ladies. Well, no actual ladies seemed to notice them as they were all texting, but guys in Mustangs with no apparent motorcycle knowledge were all attracted to the Sportster. It's hard to believe anybody couldn't know what it is, since it's looked basically the same since 1957 and since it says Harley-Davidson on the gas tank, but there it is. Some people are quicker with the visual/mental receptors than others. Guys who have a little motorcycle awareness, on the other hand, were attracted by the Indian and wanted to hear all about it.